Okay. So a quick thing, because this part was not in the recording. So when we have an ERD, we need to identify the entities. Entities are nouns that we cannot assign a value to. That means we have to break them down into attributes. Attributes are nouns that we can assign a value to directly. When we do an ERD, an entity, what matters is identify the attributes and then find out which attribute or a set of attribute should not be repeated, okay? Those are what we call candidate keys. Candidate keys is a single attribute or a list of attributes that cannot be repeated for an employee in this case. So we said, for example, email ID, Emirates ID cannot be repeated. So it's ID1 means it's unique. It's a candidate key. Email cannot be repeated. So it's ID3 means it's one of the candidate keys. A combination of first name, last name, and middle name together cannot be repeated. That's why we have ID2, ID2, ID2 means they have to be together to be unique, okay? So the next thing, so here I'm going to just make this one ID. If I have only one candidate key, then I just put an ID, okay? Then we have something called relation. Between each two entity, we have a relation. So let's just come here and put a relation just right there, okay? And let's make this one a little bigger and black. Oh, I thought I made it bigger already. Okay, so the representation of relation is a single line, okay? You don't do dot, dot, dot unless I tell you. So wait for the dots, okay? Now, when we put a relation, means that this entity has something to do with this entity, okay? And that would have a name, right? So for example, this entity works in a department. So this is called a relation name, okay? So we have a relation name, which is different than relation type, okay? Then we always have this, okay? So let's call this A, let's call this B, okay? And we say minimum. So in this side, we say here, minimum, how many A is in relation with B, okay? And then we do the same thing by saying maximum, how many A is in relation with B. So remember which side I'm reading. So I'm reading from left to right here, okay? And then we do the same thing on this side, but it would be minimum how many B is in relation with A, with B, and minimum how many B is in relation with A. Okay, so now let's read it properly. Minimum how many employee can work in a department? Minimum would be potentially 1 or 0. We don't know. Usually it's based on the description. So it's either 1 or 0. So let's say a department, to be a department, we need minimum 1, okay? Then we say dot, dot. We ask the same question. Maximum how many employee can be in a department? Maximum many, okay? So we say minimum, maximum here. Let me put that. Min, dot, 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 max, okay? And we do the same thing on this side. Okay, I'm messing this up. Min and max from here, and okay. We do the same thing on the side. And then we say minimum how many, so in a department, yeah, in a department, I have minimum how many employee? I should have minimum 1. Actually, this is wrong. Why nobody's fixing me? So an employee can work in minimum 1 and maximum 1, right? Usually employees don't work in multiple departments. So minimum, maximum. Then we ask the same question on the other side. We say, minimum, how many a department can have minimum how many employee? 1. A department can have maximum how many employee? Many. Okay? So you take the maximum, this one, okay, and this one here, I will highlight it here. You take the maximum to know what is the relation type. So what is the relation type here? This is a one-to-many relation. So this is a one-to-many relation. Okay, so remember, we always read minimum how many minimum how many employees in department, maximum how many employees in department. Then we read the other way. Minimum, a department can have minimum how many employee, a department can have maximum how many. Then once we get this, we take the max side right there and we make that the relation type. Okay, I hope this is clear. So this is the participation and the relation type. Now, let's talk into more detail. So what is normal relation? What is an is-a relation? Is-a relation is a very special kind of relation. Let me just change this a bit. Why did I do this? Okay. Is-a relation is a very special kind of relation. What it means is that in is-a relation, we want to say we have, let's say, somehow in the description, it says we have part-time staff and let's make it here, part-time. And then we have some full-time, okay? For the part-time, we're gonna track hours and start date and end date. For the full-time staff, we track contract number and maybe salary, okay? Now, you write this down, regardless whether it's an is-a relation or it's not. You just leave it for now. Just say we have a part-time staff, we have, because it's part of the description, and full-time employee. Then you ask yourself this, isn't the part-time employee a kind of an employee that has a first name, last name, middle name, hobbies, MRS ID, and email? Isn't the full-time employee the same as an employee with the same detail? Yeah, so basically you would actually write those details here, isn't it? So the idea of is-a is that if there are entities, okay, if there are entities that have the same set of attributes plus some additional information, what we do for those is the common attribute, we take them out, we put them in a single attribute, yeah? So we call it an employee, we put it here, and then we say this guy needs to copy all these attributes plus has this specific attribute that is not for everyone, okay? This is an is-a relation. In is-a relation, we copy all the attributes from the parent. And how do we show it? We show it like this, okay? Draw, I'm gonna draw because it's easier to draw sometimes. Okay, and then back to insert. Well, actually, okay, so we will draw it like that. So part-time is the same thing. So part-time is having the same set of information plus this two. Now you remember we said each entity must have cancel. What am I? Okay. Each entity must have a candidate key or a set of candidate keys. So you come here and say, do I need a set of candidate keys here? The answer is no. Why? Because this is the same thing as this. So whatever was a candidate key here would automatically become a candidate key here. So here in the is-a relation, we never have IDs. We don't put IDs here because whatever IDs we have here automatically comes here when we're creating a table. If anything that I'm saying is hard to understand or follow, let me know because this is like a monologue. It feels like I'm talking to myself and that's not good. Okay. Now this is a relation. Okay. Yes, is a generalization. Exactly. Okay. It's a generalization. Now, you see here we have first name, last name, and middle name. Okay, no, let's do another example. Now, somehow in the description, we say that for each employee, we provide insurance for the dependents. Okay, like if an employee has a wife, a daughter, a son, we provide insurance for them. Now, we will have an entity, let's call dependents. These people would have their own Emirates ID, they would have their own names, whatever, right? Now, my question to you is this. The dependent table, did it matter to the organization or it matters only because they belong to employee? Unverified. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so let me get the comments coming up somewhere so I can see if you guys at least answering my questions. Okay, so when we have an entity, so first you just put it as a separate entity, okay, because you don't know, right? Then you ask yourself, is this entity something that I am interested in, or is it something that belongs to another entity? So this entity basically belongs to employee. Yeah, if I'm not interested in employee, I'm not interested in their dependents. This is called a weak entity, means it is an entity. It's weak because it depends on another entity. That's why it's called a weak entity. Now, what matters, and it's really important, is how do you show a weak entity? Because this will come back when we do the ERD. Oh, what am I doing? When we are, how do I know through text that an entity is weak? I will tell you. It depends on the text, but so here we say EID, okay? There is a way to put this upside down, but let's not worry about prettiness here. I'll tell you, just give me a second. Let's make this one. I'm so sorry, I shouldn't be wasting time doing this, but okay, let's not waste time. This should not be colored, so I don't want a student coming and say it was colored, so it wasn't colored in the exam, so I thought it's not the same thing, right? Where is no color? Okay, let's just, here, no fill. Oopsie. Let's make it white. Okay. There. Why is it doing that? Okay, now it's better. Okay, how do I know from a description that something, unfortunately, I do not have an example to show you, but let me create one for you. Okay, I will give you, all right. We had this in the class. I don't know if your instructor covered it or not. So we say students are enrolled in college and to apply, they need to provide their school their performance history in a school, okay? In a school, including a school name, and all right. To apply, they need to provide their, let's say, English certificate. Yeah, so let's go for this. So for the student to enroll, they have to provide their English certificate. So I will treat them as two independent entities. I would have a student and I would have English certificate, okay? And the English certificate would have an ID. This one would have an SID, would have a date, a grade or whatever, okay? SID, name, DOB. Now, we're talking in terms of college that is enrolling students, okay? And I ask myself, do I care about the English certificate if the student does not exist? Yeah? Do I need a table that is called English certificate if I am a college? No. The only reason I would need to have this table is if I have a table for a student. So English certificate is of a student, belongs to the student. Otherwise, I'm a college, why should I care about English certificates, right? So if an entity, right, like this, if another entity doesn't exist, I don't need an entity, that means that entity is a weak entity. Let me give you another scenario and see if you guys would know if it's a weak entity or not. Okay, I will give you a very simple example, okay? We are a property agents and provide, yeah, okay. We need to store for each property the number of rooms would this be a good question? The number of rooms and the number of rooms, room size, and room sizes. Okay? We'll take this into consideration. Let's see if it works as a weak entity. I have a feeling it will work. So we have a property. In a property, we have rooms. So we say, let's say, property 1, and rooms 1, okay? Number of rooms equal 1 because I can have a specific value. We have location. We have, I don't know if it's apartment or type, okay? Now, here it says I need to keep track of the room sizes, okay? So how do I do that? I need to come here and say, if I don't do the weak entity, okay? I would need to say room 1, right? Size 1, room 2, size 2, room 3, size 3, but how many of those columns should I add? I don't know because there is an apartment with 1 room, there is a villa with 10 rooms, there is a mansion with 20 rooms. So what we do is we say, okay, let's take this room stuff out. Okay, I'm gonna create another one called room details. And I say room number and room size. Okay, then I ask myself, wasn't this room detail actually part of this property, but I took it out because I have to repeat this attributes again and again and again, right? The same thing with dependents, no? So let's say we have an employee, right? EID. Then we say dependent name 1, dependent dependent ID 1, and then I keep repeating this. If I don't put it as a weak entity, I would need to keep repeating this, no? 2, 3. Then I ask myself, do I know how many dependents an employee have? Maybe they don't have one, maybe they have 100. Well, I don't think a person would have 100 kids, but 10, okay? So you take this out as a separate attribute, you call it dependent, and then you put the attribute that you kept repeating here, and you say this now is a weak entity of this, because those were actually attributes for this, but kept repeating, so I took them out as a separate entity. Does it make sense now? I don't know how else I can explain it, but I'm hoping that makes sense now. Okay? We don't need that. Make sense now? Okay. So that's a weak entity. Let's go back to the representation. The representation is the most important thing about the representation is this little box that is attached here, okay? Why is it so important? Is because how can I make this one bold? Shape format. Is that the line? That is the line. I'm learning Excel again. What happened to my line? I just added that. Okay, here. What matters is this box here. Okay, let n. Okay, so now this box, what does it mean? We will come back to it. Like this here, we will use it when we convert it. This here, we will use it when we convert it. Okay, this box here means if I combine the Emirates ID of this guy with the primary key of this guy, then I get a primary key here. That's why in a weak entity, just similar to this, you will not see IDs. So keep this in mind, okay? Let me put it here. No, let me put it here. Do not put ID. And same here, okay? Do not put ID. And one more thing you need to remember about weak entity, it's always one to many. A weak entity cannot belong to more than one employee, okay? Like if I can only be my father's daughter, okay? I cannot be somebody else's daughter, basically, right? That is the story of a weak entity, like the one we had with the room and a property. A room can belong to only one property. A room cannot belong to more than one property. Like a student and his IELTS exam, that particular IELTS exam belongs to one student and no more than one student. Nobody can share the IELTS exam. That's why this is always a one-to-many relation. Okay, that means this side is one and only one, and this side is 0 or many. Okay, make sense? Hopefully. Is the partial exactly, this is part of the key. Yeah, okay. Well, actually, let's make this DID in case. Okay, now we're done with the entities. Now we have something else. For example, I will tell you that for the employee working in the department, we are, okay, it's hard to come up with, a linked attribute here, but maybe I can put position here instead of department. Okay, this may not be the ideal scenario, okay, but I think we can work around that. So let's say when the employee is working for a department, I keep track of their positions, like which position they work for that department, okay? So here, will you upload recording? Yes, of course. I don't wanna Yeah, I will do that, definitely. You want to leave? That's the reason, another reason I should not be recording. Yeah, and do that. So let's say when the employee works for the department, we want to keep track of their position because they could change their positions. Okay, so initially we just have something called, let's add another row here, insert. Okay, so here I have something called, why did I get this one now? Why do I have this double link? It's okay. So here I have something called position, okay? And this position, I track it only if the employee is working in the department, right? Because I don't have a position. Well, ideally you have something called position, which has a salary and everything. So this is not an ideal example. So let's not do the position. What do we do? When did I get this? Let me just remove that. No borders. Okay, that's better. Before we do this, let me give you another example. So if I have an employee working in a department and an employee managing a department, how can I show that? So basically, between two entities, you could have more than two relations. So this one would be manages. So nobody's telling you only one relation can exist between two. Okay? Didn't I just remove this baby here? Order. Okay, no order. Okay, so we can have this one right here called manages, yeah, which could have a different participation. So an employee can manage a minimum one, how many department, minimum 0, maximum 1 department. A department can be managed by minimum how many employees, 1, maximum 1. So the participation here is completely different than the earlier one, no? You see, they have different participation. So we can have more than one relation between two entities, okay? The other thing is when, let's say, an employee supervises another employee. How do you show that? Because I have an employee, you would ideally copy that, put it here, just put it there, and then you would create a link between them, right? But why should you repeat the same entity twice? Okay, if I say some employee supervises other employee, you might think, okay, I'm going to copy this entity and I will put it here, then I will create a link. So instead of doing this, what you do, you say, this employee has a relation with the same, stop, with the same, why it's not letting me draw now? With the same entity. This is called recursive relation, and like any other relation, it has a name. So let's put a name there. We're going to call this, for example, supervises, okay? And then we do the same thing. An employee can supervise minimum how many other employee, 0, maximum how many employee, I can supervise many, and then an employee can be supervised by minimum how many other, let's say it doesn't have to be, they don't have to be supervised. Ay, madre mia, just leave me alone. What's happening? Something happened here. Okay. Did I say save or something? Just leave me alone. I'm hoping. Oh, fuck. Okay, let's save this because I wasn't saving all this time. Yeah. Still, I cannot write at the F. Oh, don't do that. What's happening? Who knows what's happening? Ah, let N. What that's supposed to mean? I'm gonna do Control Z, Control S. Okay, something weird is happening. And if I lose this, we lose everything, and I don't want to repeat it. So let's see how I can fix this before moving in. Or there, just you close. Something is happening with my. Oh, shit. I'm showing everybody's mark to everyone. Who is an expert with Excel here? Who knows what's happening? Reference to what is invalid? Gosh, I don't want to lose this. Left with nothing but quitting this when that one is not working. Oh no, it's just not doing anything, you see? For some reason it stopped working. I don't know what is the reason. So, but what we can do is I can stop this and stop recording and then figure out what's happening. My concern now is that I will lose my work. So let it be. We'll start from where we left off. Yeah. Let me close everything. Worst comes to worst, we'll restart. Suddenly this happened. That is weird. Let's go to Task Manager and close. Force it to close. Excel. Even when I'm trying to quit it, it says reference invalid. Okay. Not good. We're wasting time, and I don't have the time to waste. I think I found out what's happening. Still no. No, even the save as is not working. Something went wrong with the Excel. It quit Excel. Even quit Excel doesn't work. Okay. No, nothing is happening. Like it doesn't even quit it. So you can imagine what's happening. It's something weird. So what I could do is I could come to my task manager and manage it from here, but I cannot find it. Here, I found it. So I'm gonna force shutting it down. Force quit. Now it's closed. The problem is I did not have it saved. Yes, now it works, but we don't have the file. Ah, who cares? We'll start from somewhere. Okay, so I'm gonna start recording. First start sharing. Share, then start recording. Somebody cursed us. Oh, I hadn't paused it. Okay, you guys have to jump a little when you're doing this. So let's just start from where we ended, because I'm not gonna repeat everything only because we lost what we had. So we had table employee. We had table. This is too much now. I think we have so little to do now. So department, okay. And then we talked about the recursive relation, so we're not going to talk about that. Weak entity is done, is done. So what I wanted to show you is the last element, which is the linked attribute and association clause, okay? So we say that employee, let's keep it very simple for now. Employees, so I'm not going to put the attributes. You guys know the attributes already. I'm just going to say that this guy has a relation with this guy right here. Okay. I think it's better to just insert a line in this case. Okay. Now, what is a linked attribute or association clause? Association clause and linked attribute are the same thing. Okay. That's what I want you to keep in mind first. It's just the functionality is different. So since the functionality is different, we do different things, okay? So we said when we do have an employee working on the department, we give that employee a position, okay? Again, this is not the ideal scenario, okay? But let's say position is something that this is not a good scenario, actually. So I need to come up with a good scenario between employee and department that would have an attribute here. When the employee works in the department, let's say we have a start date and end date, okay? Only when the employee is hired, okay, we have a start date, end date, and let's add position as well, okay? So we don't have details about position. Let's assume this scenario that we don't have, actually a start date and end date is a good one, okay? So we say a start date and end date of each one. Now this two, okay, this two, we don't know about them until and unless the employee starts working in the department. So this set of attributes here exist only if this relation happens, okay? So that is the case when we need a linked attribute. So this is a linked attribute, okay? So in the linked attribute, we have a dotted line. That's the only place where we have a dotted line, okay? Something like this. Okay, let me make this bigger. Format, wait. I'm gonna do another copy. And that, okay, which means this set of attribute happens if this relation happens. Otherwise, I don't care. There is no start date and end date to anything, okay? Now, this is called a linked attribute. A linked attribute can happen on any relation, one-to-many, one-to-one, it doesn't matter, okay? Now, if I give this a name and say contract, yeah? And then maybe put it in a relation with another entity, for example, HR, what can be the contract? Oh, well, let's not get too complicated. The moment I give it a name, it becomes an association clause, okay? So if it doesn't have a name, it's a linked attribute. If I give it a name, it's an association clause. What's the difference and why do I need to give it a name? If it doesn't have a name and it's a linked attribute, I cannot link it to any other entity, okay? I cannot have another entity here and say, contract files, for example, okay? I cannot have that. Actually, contract files becomes a weak entity, so that's a bad one, okay? How can I make this one? In the past experience, start and end date were attributes like, no. The start date and end date cannot be attribute of an employee. The start date and end date cannot be an attribute. So the way to know if it's a linked attribute or not, you will have a start date and end date, okay? Whatever attribute I put in the employee should be describing an employee. If I say a start and end date, it's like date of birth and date of death, right? It's not explaining an employee. It's not explaining anything about the department. I'm not saying this is when I started the department or this is when I ended the department. No, this is to say this work relation, for the work relation, this is when I started and when I ended. Yeah, don't confuse this with the weak entity attributes. A weak entity attribute was an attribute that was describing the employee, but we had to repeat certain set of attributes again and again because we didn't know how many dependents they have. We took it out, we made it a weak entity. This one is not describing the employee. It's not describing the department, okay? It's describing the relation, okay? And remember, the moment I give it a name, let's say contract, then this becomes association clause in which I can make it, for example, a Ministry of Labor, whatever, okay? I mean, this is a very stupid use case, but then I can have this in relation with this. Otherwise, I cannot have this relation, okay? If this doesn't have a name, I cannot have this relation. So I think we covered everything with association. A ternary relation now is a relation that requires more than one entity to be built, okay? An example of a ternary relation is project, for example, yeah? Where was I? Sorry, I'm distracted. Okay. For example, when we have employee, department, well, not really project. So we have, let's go to another scenario for a ternary relation. So a ternary relation, for example, what am I doing? A ternary relation is, for example, when we have a supplier, yeah, we have a customer, and we have retailer, okay? So these three have to work together to make something happen. Or a better example is, for example, medical staff, patient, and appointment, okay? So to make a booking, yeah, for a patient to visit a medical staff, to make a booking, all three of them have to be in the relation. For those kind of a relation, we show them with a diamond. I'm not sure if this is covered in the lecture. If not, then ignore it, okay? We cover it with a diamond, if I could find a diamond here. Okay, means I need this guy. I need this guy here. And I need, oops. This guy here to make a booking, okay? Booking, something like that, okay? Yeah, so that's a ternary relation. Alternate relation in table. This has nothing to do with tables. We're just in ARD now. You need to know how to convert it to table, yeah? And that becomes depending on the many to many, many to one you decide, yeah? So if it's all one, many to many, I don't think we need to worry about that. It's not covered how to convert it. but if you see it, you should know it. If you have a scenario, you should be able to say if it's a ternary or not. But don't worry about converting it into a table, okay? What happened to my chat? It's here. Is the unique case or just for previous example, supervisor staff under both employee, do we use recursive too? For the supervisor, yes, that was a recursive one. Weak relation, no, weak relation don't have a diamond. Who told you weak relation has a diamond? Look, this is diamond is only ternary. Weak relation is the box, okay? And is not a diamond. Yeah, is this, is a triangle. This is a, don't confuse them, because ERD tells you stories and you cannot tell any story you want. Diamond is for ternary, triangle is for is a box attached to the main attribute is weak entity, okay? So just keep that in mind. Diamond, no weak relation. Okay, now converting it, we will make it very, I'm gonna use the example in the lab for this one because we're 1 hour down and we're still in ERDs. Let's see, how long does this take to finish? Desktop, lab material, lab 2. What is this recording? I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna jump to, this is, it was a different lab. Forgot which lab. Life is so good, I forget everything. ARD2 schema. So to make sure that you guys are not confused. So this is association clause. We know it by ... dots, okay? You see, even if we use an arrow, it's like a triangle. That is an is-a relation. This little box here means it's a weak entity. Okay, so know the difference between the three and do not confuse them, please. Okay, so what do we do here? When we have an ERD, okay, I will just quickly give you the rules. We will not write the codes, okay? The rules are this. Every single box becomes a table, okay? So 1 table, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have 6 tables. Now, so what I will do is I will copy this. Actually, I will copy this into here and we'll make some changes, okay? Can I do that? Yes, I could do that. Okay, that means I need to have create table users, okay? We need to have create, so you get an idea, okay? So every single table is, every single box is a table, okay? Then you need to pay attention to those indicator of relations, okay? I don't know what was that. Okay. Yes, exactly. So remember, weak entity is a box, is a triangle, ... is a linked attribute or association clause. Okay. So let's do the rules. I don't need you anymore. Normal entity. Okay. Create table statement and make sure one of IDs become primary key and other IDs are unique. Okay, what do I mean by that? Like in the example of the employee here, we had employee EID was ID1 and email was ID2. Okay, so what I do when I create table is make sure I will make one of those a primary key by saying EID primary key, and the other one, email, I would say unique. Okay, this is how we deal with Which document? I will share the document, yes. Not the Excel because it's so messed up. We've lost the first one, so it doesn't make sense, yeah? So email is unique, okay? So creatable statement of IDs become primary key and other ID are unique. If you have ID2, it means you need a composite key, okay? E.g. F name, ID1, M name, ID1, L name, ID1 means you have to do, for example, unique or primary key, all three of them, okay? So you need to put this, comma, this, comma, this, okay? It doesn't matter if it's unique or primary key. When you have a number repeated, it means it has to be a composite. Needs a composite key, okay? Now, is a relation. We just say here, copy primary key of parent. Okay, just the primary key. You don't have to copy anything else of parent. And make sure you add, you show it's a foreign key. Make sure you show it's a foreign key. Okay. Weak entity, primary. So primary key is a composite key of the PK of main entity, comma, the attribute in the box attached to the main entity, okay? And I will say, make sure you show it's a foreign key. Okay, let's just write the rules now and then we'll come back to that. Many to many, linked attribute, association class always has its own table. Copy the PK of all tables attached. Primary key becomes a composite key of all the PKs. And we say, do not forget to show the foreign keys, okay? Did I see somebody walking in? No, all right. What do we do? Okay. What do we do when we have one too many? Okay. I will write here, only copy the PK from one side to many side and make it a foreign key. I will write here, do not change primary key, okay? We don't change the primary keys. If it's one too many, both entities will have their own primary key. We don't touch that. The only thing we do is the primary key of the one side goes to the many side and we'll make it a foreign key. If it's 1 to 1, copy PK of one of the entities to the other. And make it a foreign key. Here again, I say do not change PK. Okay, PK means primary key. Don't ask me what it is. Okay. Now, when we have a foreign key, each time we say, make sure you put a foreign key, you need to say on delete what to do or on update what to do, okay? For weak entity and is a relation, always say on delete cascade, on update cascade, okay? I'm not gonna go into details of why. It's explained in the other videos. Just remember that. Include, I said no logistic questions. Please, guys, don't tell me what is in the exam, what is not in the exam. That is in the lecture material. If you go through them, you will find out what is there, what is not there. I don't know. Okay? When you do a foreign key, you could say deferrable or immediate. Okay? Just get the syntax from the lecture for this one. Okay? I will say check syntax in lecture note. What does it mean? You remember when we were creating the table, I say the order matters. That means if I have a table that has a foreign key from another table, you first have to create the first table which doesn't have a foreign key, and then the second table which has a foreign key. If you do remember that, now deferrable, what it means is when you're creating a table, it will create all the tables regardless, so the order doesn't matter anymore here, right? It means create the table, do not check for the foreign key. Maybe the next table is the table I need, yeah? So it creates all the tables. Once the whole transaction is finished, now it says, do I have this foreign key which I'm trying to insert in this table in the other table or not? Okay, so deferrable means wait for everything to be completed, then check if I have the foreign key available or not, or I have a valid foreign key. Immediate means every time you're inserting a row, check if it is a valid foreign key, and if it's not, stop the whole transaction. That's why by default it's immediate. That's why if you create a table that has a foreign key to another table and that table doesn't exist, it will tell you it's not correct. Okay, so that's the deferrable and immediate, because I saw that in the lecture. I thought you should know it. We didn't do this in the lab. Okay. On delete and on update, we can set, options are no action, set null, or give it a value, okay? Just check syntax in lecture note. Okay, what it means is this: if I delete the table whose value is used in another table because it was a foreign key, what happens to the value in the other table? Let's explain it here. So I have this table, for example, EID, right? And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a name, Asma, 1, 2, 3, 3. Name is Jabber, okay? Then I have, sorry, this is employee. Okay, then I have projects table that has EID. I'm keeping it simple for now, okay? EID and project ID. Now this column here is a foreign key of this one, okay? Now the question is, if I delete this guy, yeah, so let's say this becomes 1, 2, 3 is working on networking, okay? And 1, 2, 3, 3 is working on website. If I fire this guy, okay? If I delete this guy, what's going to happen to this guy? Because this is a foreign key and it's copied from here. Do I delete it? Do I keep it? On delete means delete it.
It will be removed automatically.
It depends on what you do here. It's not automatic, yeah? It depends on what you do here. So if you say, on delete update, on delete cascade, then it will, did I mention that? Yeah, if you say cascade means if I delete here, delete there. If you say set null means if I delete here, just come here and say this is null. If I say no action means you're not allowed to delete this because I'm using it somewhere else. Okay, so those are the three. No action means do not delete it. Null means set this one to null. And cascade means if I delete here, delete here. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Yeah. So unique is all the IDs we did not choose to be primary key. Okay, all or E.G, E.I think candidate keys. Okay, everything which is a candidate key becomes unique. Default, and you set a value. It depends on the, you don't get questions like this usually, but if you want, you can say default 0 means if nobody entered anything, then enter this. By default, everything can be left null. So if in the description it tells you we need to always have an email, then you should say not null. Okay. I will spend more time about check because it's more important to come here. Okay. Check is a constraint on a value. So for example, let's come back to here. Actually, let's come here. Okay. So do I need to elaborate on those with an example, or you can just go watch the videos from the ERD2 table lab? Okay, I'm just summarizing this for you now. Do you want me to elaborate more, or we can move on? Let's see. Don't get any feedbacks. It feels like I'm talking to myself. Okay, move on. Good. Yeah, because we have a lot to cover. So watch the one from the video. Okay, let's focus on the check statement a little bit and the assertion. Okay. Check statement is if the value. Okay. So check statement is restriction on the value that an attribute can take. Okay, so I want to restrict a value and it cannot be enumerated. Why do I mention that? Okay, if I say a value can be Dubai, so if I say city can be Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Ajman, you can say enum, right? So you can do it with this enum Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Ajman. This is one way we could do it, isn't it? All right. Now imagine a country or UAE changes their city structure and change this to, well, it's the same scenario. So okay, this particular data type, you remember the enum data type. You could do it like this. So let's say here, city is enum. You could do the exact thing like this. City, check. Yeah, oh, sorry. City, car 100 maybe. Parentheses. Check. City in. These two things do the exact same thing. Okay, so it's up to you. You can do enum or you can do a check statement. Okay. Let's not put that. Okay. Now, if I tell you salary can be between 5 to 10K, how do you mention all the values between 5,000 to 10,000? Now you cannot use enum anymore. Your only option is to say salary, let's say integer, and then you say check salary between 5,000 to 10,000. Okay, that's a very cheap company, but let's say, okay, this is when you need a check statement, when you want to limit the values, it's the value integrity, okay? You want to specifically mention what values can you have. Now, sometimes a restriction has to come from two different tables, yeah? Not only from here. An example would be, let's say this is an employee table, okay? And then we have a department, and then here we have max salary, maximum salary or a salary range, okay? Of a department, because you know in each department we have a salary range as well, okay? And it's, yeah. So what we can do now is salary start, salary end, okay? That means the start of the range and the end of the range. Salary min, salary max. Now, if I want to make sure that this happens and this happens, or okay, what else I could do is to say, so I'll give you a scenario, okay? Each employee should be paid between the department salary range and less than manager. How do you do that? The only way to do that is to say create assertion as, okay? So if I come back here, make sure I understood it correctly. It would be something like, yeah, like this, okay? So you have two things to check for a single attribute, okay? And that comes from different tables. Make sense? That's when you need assertion. Assertion is a check statement, but the values that you're checking are coming from other tables. That's why you need to create an assertion. The check statement, if the value is something you can just list it down or give it a range or read it from the same table, then you could just do a check statement inside the table. Okay, so that's the difference between check and assertion. I'm just highlighting the things which are not in the other videos because I went through your lecture material and noticed that. Each employee, okay. Any questions about converting ERD to table and check and assertion? If not, then we will start with queries. Questions? No questions? I think we are on the right track. Even if we spend 1 more hour, we're still good to go. No questions? If you have questions, please write them in the chat and I will take care of it in a minute. Okay. Actually, I'm going to write it here. It's better. I don't want to write queries and then you guys tell me it was wrong. So keep in mind that what we're trying to do, I believe it is. Do you have a feeling it's not recording? Yeah, it is recording. Why it says 1 hour? Because it's been 1 hour and a half. Well, whatever, but it is recording. Thanks to remind me to check. Arden, you stop recording after the... No, but I paused it and I didn't stop it. Yeah, maybe I stopped it. I don't remember. Yeah. Okay, now let's come to queries. Can we move on to queries? Everyone is cool and following and everything. Let's see how many people are there. Okay. Anybody here who's not my student? I'm so sorry that you have to do this with me. Okay. I think your instructors are busy. So anyways, So now let's do queries. I will take care of delete and update later, okay? But because delete and update are not difficult if you understand the query. Let's go for basic syntax, and we write it here. Select column names separated by comma from table. Now this is no join, okay? Let's just not using join, okay? From table names separated by comma. Now the rest, so select column name from table name is a must. You must have them, okay? You don't have any way around it. You must have them. From here, if you have more than one table here, then you must have a where condition, unless if you're using a join. Where condition. Then you could say a group by column name. Then you could say having condition. If you're not my student, just let me know if you covered group by in your lab, yes or no. If you are my student, then we would not have a problem because we did cover it. Where is the chat? Okay, fantastic. So having a condition, and then we have order by column name, ordering type. That would be ascending or descending. Okay, that's pretty much all you need to know. Now, condition here, let's open it up. Okay, so condition format is column name, operator, value. Remember this, condition is column name operator, value, column name operator, unless if you're using exist. Okay, we will come back to that. If you're not using exist, it's always column name operator, value. Okay, this is very important, and it will be, I mean, you have to find, you will find options that doesn't follow this format, then don't choose it. Okay, no. Who told you group by comes at the end? No, order by comes at the end, always. Okay, order by comes at the end. Group by comes after a where condition and before having. This is the order, just follow this order. Okay, so select from where, group by, having, order by. Then if you want, you could say limit n. Oh, by the way, for my student who told me limit is not covered in the lecture, I checked the lecture, it was there. Limit means how many number of the rows to show from the top of the table. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this. Don't worry about this one. Okay. So if I have one table, let's say employee table, you say select a star from employee. Okay, that's easy. No condition, no nothing. Then you could say select a specific column. For example, F name, L name, salary from employee. Okay, then you could say select, let's go back to star from employee. Now you can have condition. What is having? I will talk about it. Having is to filter your groups. Okay, where is to filter your tables. So let me put it here. Where filters the rows of the tables. Okay, having filters the groups created by group by statement. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, And we'll take this one out. We put it here. I think that makes more sense. Okay. I'm sorry, I become a little picky sometimes. It's a function because you can't use where after group by, I think. Huh? Oh, all right. No, it's not a function. It's just like an if condition. Okay. You remember for my student, we said where is just an if condition in Python. Yeah, because in Python you say if salary greater than 100 and salary less than 100. If it's Python, you do this, right? Instead of saying if, you do where. Okay. Now where, having is the same thing. Having is just to put a set of conditions. Okay. Where is to filter your rows of the tables. So where, this one is to filter the rows of this one. Okay. Having, we'll put this one. Having is to filter your group bys. Okay. But both of them are like if statements, nothing more than an if statement. Okay. Okay, from employee where, then you put condition, remember the format, column, operator, condition, okay? What are operators? Operator can be anything. Operators can be greater than, equal, less than, equal. Lock is a string operator. We will talk about it. Is or is not is for null values, okay? Here for strings, is or is not for null values, okay? And then here I will say condition, and or more conditions, okay? If you have more conditions, then you put and and then you add more conditions, okay? The same thing here, you can have more than one condition here. This doesn't change, okay? Remember, is and where is the same as if statement, but we say where and we say having. Okay, where, for example, city equals Dubai, okay? Or you say, let's say the same thing, and you want to say that the city starts with a D, okay? How do you say it starts with a D? You say like Dubai. If you put D and then the % sign, means I have to start with a D, but I do not care about what comes after it. We will talk about in, yeah, let's just do the basics for now. So like means it will start with D, okay? Let's do another one here and say, if we want to say ends with D, that means there is any number of letters, I don't care what they are, but the last letter has to be D, okay? And if I do this one, it means D can be anywhere, okay? Now, if I want to say only one letter, because this says any number of letters, it could be 0, right? If I want to say one letter, I use, let's say, I will have another one, because these are the things we did not cover in the lab, at least for me, yeah? Like, so here this means any, single letter before D and any number of letters after it. Okay, so underline means a single letter. Okay, that's for this. Okay, now if we have a list of values, so let's say I want to say the city can be Dubai, Ajman, Abu Dhabi. Okay, so we take this one back. You do the mix and matches later, but let's just go quickly. So we can say city equal Dubai. Do not put this, okay? Because why? Because we said, what is the format? Ajman, Abu Dhabi. What is the format of a condition? Column name, operator, value. Where is the column name and the operator for those two? So it always have to have this column name, operator, value, column name, operator, value. And if we have more than two conditions, we put an or, isn't it? Put an or. Another better way to do this is to say, select the star from employee where city is in. Oopsie, I thought I copied all of them. Dubai, comma, Ajman. I want to go to the difficult ones, but I want to make sure that you guys know the basic before we go on to the difficult ones, okay? Make sense? All right. Now, let's say, okay, we forgot about some people there. Sorry, guys. Now go on top, come here. Somebody is having a comment, which I do not know what it means. Okay. Now, let's say I want to say, I want to have multiple conditions. I want to say the salary is greater than something and the city is Dubai. The same basic structure, we can follow this and say, and, okay, salary greater than equal to 10,000. Okay, if you want a range, you can use between as well. Okay. If you want to say that the city should not be null, you could do this, where city is not null. Okay, is not null means there is a value was provided. Or if you want to see who doesn't have a city, you could say is null. Okay, up to you. So that's the basic, selecting multiple columns. Now, let's do basic still, okay? Basic with aggregate function, okay? So we will do, so what are the aggregate functions? Let me highlight this, bring it up here and say, actually this should go, we'll leave that one there. Aggregate function is a sum column. Remember, this aggregate function can be only on a single column, okay? AVG column, min column, max column, and last one is count column. Okay, those are the aggregate functions. If you want to calculate a new column, you can use one of the aggregate functions. For example, you can say select minimum salary from employee where department equal IT, okay? Distinct is not an aggregate function. Distinct is an instruction kind of, yeah? So if you say if you say, for example, let's say you have, okay, let me show you distinct, okay? That's a good one actually. So let's say you have names, Asma, Nader, Yusra, those are my siblings, another Asma. Okay, if I say count names, how many do I see? If I say count names, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4. Okay, if I say count distinct names, so distinct is not an aggregate but by itself, but it's kind of an instruction of what to do, okay? So when I say distinct, it comes here and say Asma 1, Nader. Did I count Nader before? No. Then 2, Yusra. Did I count it before? No. 3, Asma, did I count it before? Yes. Then I will not count it. It becomes 3. Okay, so distinct is just a part of something. It's not considered an aggregate function by itself. If I had mentioned that in the labs or in the video recordings, then it must have been a mistake. And I apologize for that. Okay. So here, for example, you could say select distinct department from projects. Yeah, and we want to know for each project how many department is involved. We don't care if there are more. Is it to avoid duplicate? Yeah, exactly. It is to avoid the duplicate values. You do not count the duplicate values. You count them once only. Okay. So you can do an aggregate function, any number of an aggregate functions. Okay. Now, I think it's good to cover this one as well. Basic with change in column. What I mean is, for example, you can say select salary divided, or let's say price, if you want to get a discount, okay? Price multiply by 0.1 as discount from products, means take the price, deduct 10%, and that becomes my discount, okay, for this, or new price as new price. Okay, that is the story here, is give 10% discount on price. You can do calculations like that as well. Okay. Now I noticed something and I want to verify if it's correct actually. Let me do something very quickly. Select salary from instructor. Let me just check something very, I think it's either I misunderstood something or somebody misunderstood something. So if we do this, unknown I salary. Okay, we're not gonna do everything, but I want to just verify. In your coursework, in the lecture, it says, for example, AVG salary minus. It says this doesn't work, and I have a feeling it might work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, good. Oh, my bad then. All right. So remember that we cannot do any operations on the aggregate functions. You see, I'm trying, I could say salary, right, minus 100. This will work, right? But I cannot say salary minus an aggregate function. Okay? So if you want to do that, if I want to ask you, now what? Oh yeah, it doesn't work. Okay. Now I'm highlighting why we need nested queries. Okay. Yeah, I mean, don't worry about the logistic. Okay. Yeah, if I want to get a new price, you're right. It should be 90% of a price. Okay. You're right, actually. So let's say I have a salary. Okay. I have this table and I want to tell you, I ask you, show the difference between average salary and the salary each person is. Let's do this. Okay. Person is paid. What you would do, you would come here and say select salary minus AVG salary from instructor. Okay. Now, any aggregate function that you use, either in a mathematical calculation or in a condition, needs to be in a select statement. It's as easy as that. Write it this way, and the moment you see an aggregate function that is used somewhere else, you have to write statement. So you have to say select average from instructor. Okay? Do I need one more? No. Do we understand why we need a nested query here? Yeah? You write an average, okay? That's fine to start with. But remember, an aggregate function cannot be used in equation or in a condition. Any of the 5 aggregates cannot be used in a mathematical operation or in a condition. If you see it, you have to make it a select statement. I will give you another one. Show all instructors who are paid the minimum salary. Okay? Ideally, what you would do is you say select star from instructor where I salary is equal to minimum I salary, right? You would write this, but you remember that since it's an aggregate function, you cannot use it directly. You must have a select statement. So you open a parenthesis, you put this in a select statement, and now you have a nested query. Okay, are we clear? Yes, why we need a nested query? It usually comes down to an aggregate function or to another table. Now, I will tell you, I will ask you this, for example. I'm using this table. I'm hoping that everyone is familiar with this table, so I don't have to explain. Okay, so I will come here and say, show the instructors who are not working. All right, now let's write this in a way that we understand. Okay, that is select, show all details, select email from, okay, it doesn't matter. Select I email from instructor. So we have a condition, right? So we say where, and now we say, how do I know if the instructor is not working? How do I know that? Then I look at my table. I say, does instructor have something called a status where it says working or not working? No, I don't have that. Can I know it by looking at the schedule table? Does it say working or not working? No, I do not have that. So when your condition is something, sorry, I shouldn't have opened this one, but it's okay. When your condition is something that you cannot have the value by looking at your table, it means, just hold a second, guys. If your condition is something that you cannot write it by looking at your tables, by looking at your values, then it means you need to write another query. Okay, so I know that I need to have a condition here. I looked at my table. None of them has an attribute that tells me if something is working or not working. That means I need to write another query. So I will ask myself, how would I know which query to write to see if somebody is working or not working? Can I write a query to see if somebody is not working? No, otherwise I could complete this. Then you say, can I write a query to know if somebody is working? And you come here and say, actually those who are working are mentioned in the schedule table. So if I get this guy, that means this guy is working, isn't it? If I get it from this table. So first I will get that. I will say select I email from schedules, okay, or schedules. Then I say, okay, now I have something. Now I know who is working. If I want to know who is not working, the email that I'm reading here, yeah, should not be the one I'm reading here. That means email not in this one. Okay? The idea behind subquery is by looking at your tables, by the values and the attributes you have, you cannot get to an answer. So you have to write small queries to find values you're looking for. So the value I'm looking for is those who are not working. So I find everybody who is working and I say the person I'm reading should not be in this list. So, okay. Then there is another way to do this. I say, and remember, this is column, operator, value. We said only when you say exist, you don't use this. What does exist mean? And remember this one as well, where exists, okay? Or in this case, it would be not exist, actually. Exist checks one thing. Is this one returning something, yes or no? So here, I should not basically put anything. I should, even if I put one or null, it works, okay? But Dr. Farhad uses a star, so we're gonna use a star. So select a star from a schedule. What I need to check here is if the email I'm reading here is the same email that I'm reading here, then I say instructor that I email equals to, oh, well, I don't think I need this. I have a feeling I don't need this, but let me double check that. Or not. Sometimes it's that only. Okay. It should show me. Did we change our tables? I know. Then I need that. Okay. Then we say where the schedules dot I email equal to instructor dot I email. I have a feeling this should give me the answer. Yes. So remember, I'm telling you this because I saw this in one of the old questions before. Yeah, in the earlier years, that you would need to know the difference between not in and not exist, or between in and exist. Okay. So if you got not in, remember the things I'm telling you. Okay. First, you need to have a column before it, and your select statement returns only one column, which is the one that you want to check against, okay? In the not exist and exist, you do not mention any column before it, okay? You would have a condition in your select statement in the nested query, okay? And here it doesn't matter. Here it really doesn't matter, okay? So keep in mind the difference between not in and not exist. Now let's have another query. For example, if we want to know, let's see who knows that. Get all employees who are being paid higher than average, higher than any, okay, all, this is very sexist, is that how you call it? Any other female employees. Okay, first question. Do I need a nested query? Yes or no? Do I need a nested query? And what makes you say you need a nested query? You do need a nested query because there is the values you're looking for, the conditions that you have, none of the attributes that you have can answer that, right? So basically, you might come here and say select star from, I didn't want to type queries, but I end up doing it, from instructor where Salary, okay, where gender equal male and salary greater than, and then you say greater than any. I'm just following this, okay? And then you say, okay, how would I know the average female salary? Is there something can tell me? So I'm stuck now. I don't know what to do. So since I'm stuck, I immediately know that, hey, I need a subquery. What should my subquery return me? What I'm looking for, which I cannot find, which is the average female salary. So I will say select, actually, this is not average female salary. This is any female salary, right? Select I salary from instructor where gender equal female. It's I gender, okay? So let's not worry about the syntax now, but consider the fact that you understand what I'm doing, okay? Why did I use any? Who knows why did I use any? What happens if I use greater than all? You need any or all when you remember that the nested query always here has one column, yeah? It's always one column. And just hold a sec. Okay, wrong timing for vacuuming. Where were we? Why do I use all or any is what do I want to check? Here it says it has to be like if I have 10 female employees and I'm greater than at least one of them, I want to see it. That's why I put any, okay? But if I have 10 employees, 10 female employees, and I want to see which male is getting paid more than all of them, then I would put all, okay? So I think the any and all will be kind of in the question itself. It gives you a hint what you want, okay? So we jumped into nested queries without, shall I copy those into that? Let's do that. Copy. And then here I would say nested query basic. It's not basic, but it's more basic than when you add it to the group by, okay? Because we have two different kind of nested queries. Was this part of what we were doing? I think it is. So I'm gonna copy this one here as well. Okay. All right, so this is nested query. Any questions? Do we understand when we need a nested query? So the idea is this: when by looking at your tables and attributes, you cannot perform your condition. Okay, this is one case. The other case, and that's most of the cases, is that you have an aggregate function in your value. Okay, when you have an aggregate function in your value, that means you have to have a nested query because aggregate function does not work without a query. Okay, those two conditions, keep them in mind. What about having multiple? I think we did that. So group by with nested query, okay? What about when we have multiple tables? So we come here and say, when we have more than one table, the most basic way to go about it, I checked all the lab lecture notes and they don't talk about join. Is there any lecture note that I missed that says join, left join, right join? Can you guys confirm that those are covered? Because Dr. Farhal told me it is, but I couldn't find the lecture material on it. Okay, so the join is covered. So let's do it without the join first, okay? It's the same syntax, okay? Just remember when you have multiple tables, I'm gonna come here and say, when, this is a messed up note, but I hope it will help you. Not here, here. When you have, okay, actually, let's do it here. When you have multiple table, option 1, list all tables, separate by comma, add join condition. Okay. Option 2 is use join statement. What do we mean by this 2 option is this, as you would have, let's just copy that. Okay. You would have this. Yeah. And then here you would say from table name separated by comma, conditioned immediately before even any other condition, you will say where tb name 1 dot key equal tb name 2 dot key. Okay. Usually you would have 2 tables. One table would have a foreign key to the other table. So that's why I put this one usually PK and this one usually FK. But it doesn't matter. It could be the other way around, as in this could be FK, this could be PK. So the idea is this: the primary key of one was a foreign key in the other one, and you get that in many-to-many relation, in one-to-many relation, and in one-to-one relations. Okay. So any of those relations, you would have a foreign key, and when you want to link them, the foreign key should be equal to the primary key of the table you're referring to. Okay, comma. Sorry. So we'll continue this, and you say, and if and this, and or conditions. Okay. And then you continue. If you have more than 3 tables, you just repeat the same thing, okay, as a condition. So you would say, and da, 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 da. Okay, I will explain in more details with an example. Okay, one example. I will solve one example only. So let's say I want to know the email, and we'll do very basic one for now. I want to know the email and right here, show email and day name for all instructors. Email for instructors along with the day name for when they are teaching. Okay, so what you do, you would say, okay, come here and say select I email. Again, well, I'm not thinking about where I get what. Okay, I'm just saying I email, and then I say as they name, and I ask myself, where do I get this from? I will say from here. Of course, this should be I email. Okay, from instructor I, and then where do I get this from? Is from schedules. Then the moment I have more than 2 tables, now where is not an optional. You should say where I email. Let's put an alias here equals to s I email. Why I email? Then because so I ask myself, is the primary key of the instructor a foreign key of the schedule? I will look here and say, the primary key of the instructor is email, and it's a foreign key. So the answer is yes. So I will use the email to join them. Okay, that's how I mean by FK PK. The primary key of one is the, okay. Now, if I want to change this and say, And then you can, of course, do order by if you want. Order by, I don't know, day name. Okay, nobody holds you back. And then you can do the sending you want. Okay, so if I want to add the subject name and day name, okay, for what and when. So if I want to add a subject name, then I will come here and say SUID, okay, and say, where am I getting this from? You will say, I'm getting it from the subjects table, subjects, SU. Now, the number of conditions you have is the number of the tables you have here minus 1. So you tell me, you come here and say the instructor is connected to the schedule. Okay, perfect. What about the subjects? The subjects is not connected to either of them. So I need to find a table to connect it to this. Then I ask, do I have the primary key of the subject inside the instructor table? I look here, I don't have it. Is the primary key of the instructor a foreign key of the subject? I come to the subject, I don't have it. That means I cannot connect it with this table. Then I ask, do I have the primary key of the subject in the schedule? I will come here and say, oh yeah, I have it. So that means I need to make that connection right here. And of course I put and su.su SUID equal to s.SUID. Okay. Now you can add more condition. For example, you can say and, okay, and I don't know, gender equal male, okay, and salary greater than 1,000, okay, or you could say salary is greater than average salary. Now, immediately, since you see an average, an aggregate function as a value, you know that you cannot do this. You will say select average salary from instructor and put that into a parenthesis like that. Okay. Am I making the ideas clear? Yeah, because you can start simple and make it complicated. Okay. But this is how you put some. Let's put this one here. This will become and table name 2, table name 3, it doesn't matter. Then you could have this one here. So these are completely optional. You may not need them. Okay. Any questions? So this is how you do it with this. Okay. If you want to do it with join, okay. Honestly, when I was a student, it was very hard for me to understand how to do join. And then I realized there is a very basic rule that is, instead of saying separate by comma, I would say separate by join. And instead of my where and, I will put on. Okay, what I mean is this. We'll copy this until table name. Okay. Now select column name separated by comma. That doesn't change from table name 1. Okay. Instead of comma, I say join table name 2. Then I would say this join happens over which column? Okay, so this join, this join is happening over the same column as before. For example, there's 2 columns. Okay, so we say on this. So remember why I'm using on is because I'm asking myself, the join is happening over which column? It's happening over this column. Okay. Why did I copy this? Or there? I'm recording. I should be careful. I did something bad. Okay. Copy on this. Okay. Now, What happens is, if when I do this, a new table gets created, it joins the two tables over this column. Now I have one completely new table. So if I want to join another table, all I need to do is say join, and I will repeat the same scenario. Table name 3. Now I want to join this ones with this one on which column? You can say table 2 and 3. Okay? Of course, the rest will be just the same. You could have a where condition here. I will give you some interesting questions. You could have where. You don't need to do the key anymore, okay? So you would have where condition. It's like that. And then the rest. Okay, now let's do some questions with the join. Oopsie, I wasn't saving this revision. Okay, good to know that. Okay, so now let's do that. So I will convert the very same thing to a join. Okay, so I will say here, select this from the instructor. Okay, and I will highlight one very same as above. Okay, I will highlight one trick here. You remember here we say it doesn't matter the order, you just mentioned them one by one. With a join, it does matter. Okay, so I will say I need the instructor table, I need to join it. Now I have two more tables. I have the schedule and I have the subject. Okay, which one do I put next? The table I put next must be the table I can join it. I cannot put subject here because subject doesn't have a foreign key from instructor, and instructor doesn't have a foreign key from the subject. So I cannot put this one. Then I say, which other table we have? Subjects, schedules. Schedules have a foreign key. So join the instructor with the schedule on which key? On. Then we put the key that we do the join. Okay. And then I say now that this new table, we say this will create a new table, right? Join this new table with the subject table. Again, you say using which key? On this key. Okay? And then you could have anything, where, whatever. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy. So the rest of the syntax doesn't change. It's only what you're changing here. Now, why do I need this join? Because this is doing exactly like this. Why do I need it? It's because we can have something called left join and right join. The left join, let me show you. Select I dot star, comma, SUID from instructor. Okay, from instructor. Let's do just the join for now on this. Okay, so let's see what happens when I do just a join. I get an error because I don't have S here. Now I have to have S here. So don't run those, okay? You might get errors. It's just the idea of the syntax. Of course, my instructor is misspelled. So this is not the one I was doing. This is, where was I? Oh, I lost where I was. Right here. Why am I doing this here after that? Orderito. Vamos a ver. We need to move this, guys. We need to move. Yeah, we need to move all these guys somewhere before I do the join. Maybe here. Okay. Okay, so now makes more sense. All right. Let's run this. I had an error. What happened? A schedule doesn't exist, of course. Let's just make sure the spelling is right, because I wanted to see this for those who were not my students, because it's important to see what's happening. All right. You see, here SUID always have a value. That means I'm listing only the instructors where I could find them in the schedule table, right? So now let's do a left join, and I'm not gonna go over this more than that. Left join, because it's there in the, we didn't post the solutions. Okay, that's fine. So if I run this, now see what's gonna happen. If I do left join, I will list all the instructors. If that instructor had an instance or a match in the schedule table, I will see it. If I could not find this instructor in the schedule table, I will put null. Why is it left? The first one is always left. The second one is always right, okay? So here, this is left, this is right. This whole thing, we said, becomes one table. That is left, this is right, okay? So you see left join basically is telling me those who are instructors but are not teaching, yeah? You see that? It's null, okay? So I'm not gonna do the is null thing, but just get an idea of what is left join, what is right join. If I do right join, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same as this because it doesn't matter, because everybody in the instructor is already in here, so it becomes the same thing. Okay, so that is the left join and the right join. Any questions before we move on to the group bys? No? Okay, let's do group by. What about natural join? Natural join. I do remember that. I don't remember what it means. We have inner join, which is default. Let's do natural join and see what do we get. Natural join. We don't have it here. Yeah, I don't think we have it in MySQL. Okay, give me a second. I'll Google it with my mobile. I tell you. I don't remember what was natural join, to be honest. Okay. Can somebody read the lecture and tell me what was it? Oh, we have the inner join. In the lecture, you also have outer join. Okay, full outer join. Again, this won't work here, but it means give me the nulls from the left one and give me the nulls from the right one. Yeah, both of those. Okay, but in MySQL, you can see that it doesn't work. I remember natural join. Yes, I remember. So when you do natural join, which doesn't work here, is that when you say s dot star, yeah, you could say I dot star, s dot star. Okay, when you do natural join, the column which is repeated in both of them will be shown only once. Okay, I will do without natural join, see what happens. Okay, I remember, good. I was thinking it should be somewhere there in my brain, but I cannot connect to it. You see, if I put I star, I see email here. And again, I see email here, right? But if I do, which doesn't work here in MySQL, but if I do natural join, then I will see only one I email. This will not be repeated twice. So anything that is a reference or a foreign key will be repeated once, okay? Good question, and I'm happy I remembered the answer. Just it doesn't work here, doesn't mean it's not gonna be in the exam, okay? It's there, so you should know it in the lecture. Okay, now group by. We need group by when we actually want to do, okay, let's do a basic group by, okay? Let's see what happens if I just add a group by statement, not to this one. We'll just say select, and I'm not worried about the functions because functions are something you can look into and learn yourself, okay? So I'm not gonna do any of the functions in the revision, okay? And I'm getting very hungry right now, okay. I think half an hour more and we're done, so we'll continue. Select, who knows what I was doing? Now those who are not my student are happy that they are not my student because I forget things I was doing. We wanted to do group by. Select, let's say SU category. from subjects. Okay, so let's see that. Let's see what happens. Oh my God. It's SUCAT. It's SUCAT. Okay. Select categories. Okay. You see, we have repeated item, no? If I say distinct, what do I get? I will have unique items. Okay. Now let's do group by. Select only SUCAT. Group by SUCAT. What do you see? Same thing. So group by is basically giving you the distinct values in a given column. So your given column is SUCAT, which is a subject category. Group by without any operator gives you the unique items in the column that you mentioned here. Okay, the column you mentioned is here, so I get this. Okay, do we understand group by? Without anything, it means give me the unique values you have in this column. If you have more than 2 columns, it's okay, it doesn't matter. So let's say let's do one more thing, just for you to see that you can do that. So we could have, give me SU ID and I email from schedules, okay? Group by, so if I don't do group by, let's just do that. Why? Okay, you see, I can see that some of them, like here, I am doing 115 twice, right? So if I put distinct, and I think I could do this, hopefully. I could not. It should do. Now it doesn't get repeated, you see? Now let's do the same thing with group by. So if I do this, and I say SUID email from a schedule, what should be inside my group by statement? Who knows what should it be in the group by statement? Both of them, right? So now I get when they are only one. What did I do wrong? No, this is wrong. It should show me. Maybe I should not put it here. Yeah, okay. The parenthesis sensitive, no? We see it gets me the same thing that this one is getting me. So what group by is doing is nothing but giving you the unique values of the column or the columns you mentioned. Okay, we know what group by is now. So what you can do now is, let's go back to the basic idea. Okay, let's keep this one here. Now I want to change this and I want to say show the salary of, and I will make this harder as we go on, of instructors along with the subject they are teaching. Okay. Okay. I say select an email, select salary, show the email salary. So select I. Can we group by using a column name that isn't, it will give you an error. Okay, so let's say if it's not mentioned here, oh yeah, so remember this. You do not have to mention it here, I think. Let's try. I don't remember, but let's try what you're telling me. Yeah, so if it's not mentioned here, you can still group it by, okay? But you cannot do the other way around. You get my point? You can do this, but add email here. That is okay. but you cannot do what did I want to say? Which one we did? You cannot do this. I think you cannot do this here. Okay, you cannot do that. I'm losing track of my thoughts. Okay, so if you mention it, it has to be in the group by. But it doesn't, if you don't mention it, you can still have it in the group by. Okay, I think you have to repeat this. So this is okay. This is okay, no problem. Because the email is not mentioned here, but you can use it in group by. I don't know why would you need that, but if you do mention it, then you cannot not have it in group by. You see, I get an error. Okay. Very good question. Who was this? Ria. Okay, where was I? Show email, I email, comma, salary, comma, SUID from, let's do a join here from instructor, join a schedule. Okay, and then we say group by. Now, what are the things I should mention? Who knows? What should be my group by statement? Both the email and SUID, isn't it? Yeah, now this should work. It does not work. It's because I email. The column name is wrong. There's something else wrong. I should say I email s.suid and then I email s.suid. Still not working. I salary. I was not supposed to be writing queries and I end up doing it. Now what? Why does it say it doesn't exist? Ah, it doesn't exist. That's why. You see? So we get this. So here doesn't always have to be an aggregate function, okay? I want to know who is teaching which subject and how much is that person is getting paid, okay? So this is a group by statement with multiple columns. So now, what if I want to see only the people? Okay, that would not be a good, oh, okay. Let's do this. I will change this. I want to see show email, salary, and number of subjects. Okay. So what we do now is we have I email. Now I don't need this. I want the salary. How do I know the number of subjects I'm teaching? I need to do a count. What am I counting? My SUID. Okay, and this is a wrong answer. Let's see who knows what is the right answer. While I'm fixing this, you guys do that. On this, group by SUID. This is wrong. Who tells me? Who knows why is this wrong? Who knows why this is wrong? Yes, yes. Noor, are you my student? I want to feel proud of me. Are you my student? Please say yes. Oh, you have a very good teacher. Noor, distinct. Okay. Why we need distinct here? Because a teacher can be teaching the same subject more than once in a month, or more than once, right? I don't want to know how many sessions they are teaching. I want to know how many subjects they are teaching. If the question was how many and the number of sessions, this would have been perfectly fine. Okay? If we want the number of subjects, if the subject is repeated, we don't want to count it twice. So we have to put distinct here. Okay? So now I want to continue this. Okay, so let's put this one first, this one second. I want to say change, okay. Show email of the subject. Okay, show email, number of subject for male, for instructors who are getting paid more than minimum salary. How do we change this? I'm making a little complicated queries because I saw them in the lecture, okay? So I want you to know how it works step by step. So first, this one is the same thing. I'm not changing that, okay? So the only difference is I have a condition. The condition is that the instructor, no. Okay. What did we say about having? Having, you could do that as well. You're right, actually. You can do it either in the where or in the having because I'm showing the salary. Let's say I don't want to show the salary. I want to make it hard, but I'm so sorry. The person who said having is right. You can do having or where in this case. If I am not showing the salary, okay? Email and number of subject for instructor who are getting paid more than, okay. I will come back and I will tell you why if I add a salary, it can work both ways. So here, can I put it on having? If I run this, can I put it on having? Who can tell me? Can I put this condition under having? Yes or no? I cannot. Where is my salary? Having is to filter this guy, whatever I see here. Okay? Whatever comes after group by. This comes after group by. Does it have salary in it? No. That means I have to filter it before I do group by because salary is already in the table, so I don't need having. So I could come here and say where I salary greater than, I have to, yes, we have to do a select. I'm doing this intentionally because it's in the lecture and I want you to know what it means when you see it there. Okay, so select minimum salary from instructor. Okay, now I have this. Okay, brilliant. Let's run it. Inshallah, I spelled everything right, which I did not. Salary. Okay, perfect. Now, let's go back to the way it was, okay? To the way it was, which was I salary was here. When I salary was here, okay, I could actually put this one. Oh no, I could not. I could, actually I could. Okay, I could put this one, we will see here. So the student who said you put it here was not wrong. If you have the salary here, yeah, because if I do this, let's just do that. I see the I salary, isn't it? So my group by statement is giving me I salary. If I can see it, then I can put it in having. Okay, so this is absolutely fine. Who wasn't? Okay, you're absolutely right. Okay, but if I don't have this, then I cannot. Okay, so for those who do not watch this, they would not know what's happening here. So that's good. So now let's make this even more complicated than it is. So we will say continue. We'll continue with this so it makes more sense. Okay, more than one, and then say show the ones that are doing more than one. So I will keep this one here and I will keep salary here, email, salary. It doesn't matter now where I put it, but I will keep it here so you can see the different options, okay? Now, how would I know if they are doing more than one subject? Is it something I know by looking at my table or something I would know only if I do the group by? I would know it only if I do the group by. Only once I get this, then I can say they are more than one or not, isn't it? That's why we need having. Because this count here doesn't exist anywhere. First, the group by has to happen. Then I get this column. Now I want to filter, so then I say having count greater than 1. Okay, so do you know why we need having? Okay, you need it when what you are filtering, when what you are filtering is basically the result of a group by, the result of an aggregate function. Otherwise, you cannot do this, okay? Because there is nothing called count anywhere in your tables, okay? Shall we make it even more complicated? And we will make it even more complicated by saying, let's make it, can we use join here? Yeah, we are using join here. Here, that's the join. The join is nothing but putting the tables together, okay? So you could either use join or where condition, but do we need distinct in having? Yes, yes, because we are counting the number of subjects. If we were counting the number of sessions, no. So the count here should be the same that you use here, okay? Now, another thing is that you don't have to have it here, yeah? If you don't want to see it, it's okay. You can do it here. What did I do? I took, so this one does not have to be, so I will give you another scenario, okay? Let's put back the salary here. Salary, I salary, my bad. Let's keep it consistent. Okay. I'm just keeping it consistent, okay? There is nothing wrong with this. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to make it really hard, okay? Because I saw a question like this and I want you to be familiar with it and know when do you do it, okay? Doing more than one subjects and are paid more than average salary of male or female. Okay, this is a very hard one, but I saw it in the lecture, so you should know what it does, okay? So we're here, okay? I do this, then I get this. Now I want to make sure that this salary that I'm seeing here, it's either more than the average salary of male or more than average salary of female, average salary of each gender. Okay, so let's not be specific. So we write all of this because it's the same. Okay, then I ask myself this question. So that means I have an and more than, I will make here they're doing more than. This doesn't make sense. It's just that I want to see more, okay? So usually you don't get more than 0, okay? But let's just make it because I want to see all of them, but I want to keep this as complicated as is, so I don't have a choice. So more than 0, okay? This is very ridiculous, but again, it's just for you to know what goes where, okay? It's not about does it make sense or not in real life for now. Okay. So I now have all the salaries actually. Okay, good. Now, what I want is I want to make sure that, so I need an and here, that the I salary is greater than either the average salary of male or female. First of all, I do not know what genders do I have. Maybe I have the third gender in my table, okay? So how do I get this? How do I get the average salary per gender? I will come here and say, to get that, I need to write a query, say select AVG salary, okay, from instructor. Let's put it, okay, from instructor, okay, group by gender. So what do I get if I run this alone? I gender, I salary. For each gender, I will get the average. If I do this alone, will it work? Okay, for each gender, I get the average salary, isn't it? I want this salary to be greater than either of those or all of those. Should be greater than, more, and are more than average salary of all of each gender. Okay, so here it says they are doing more than 0 and paid more than both of those. No, I'm not saying any of those. I'm not saying any of the genders. I want it to be more than all of the genders. So I should say it's greater than both of this. So when I have both of this, I would put any. If I want at least to be one of those, I put, sorry. If I want to say both of those, I put all. If I want to say any of those, then I would say any. Okay, so now if we do this, we get those two. If I do any, I will get this. Okay. Yeah, I think that will cover a lot of the group bys and the nested queries. Okay, so we are left with one thing and only one thing. So let me copy that, everything that we did here. Again, you might need to fix those. From where do I need to copy? Who remembers? Yeah, from here, I think. I think it's from here. Control, oops. Hi. From here to here. Okay. So now when you see a query like this, okay, when you see group by and group by with nested query, when you see queries like this, the good thing about the midterm is it's an MCQ, okay? So you don't have to write it yourself, but you should at least know what goes where, okay? Remember, the where condition is on the columns you can see in your table. Having condition is on the columns that you have after your group by statement, okay? Could I put I salary, this one, could I put it here? Yes, I could put it here. Yeah, why? Because I can see it here and I can see it in the actual table. So it doesn't matter if I'm putting it here or there because I can see it in both places, okay? But the count, is there any column that has this table in any of my, is there any column that has this value in any of my tables? No, then it has to be on the having, okay? In the condition, just always remember to keep it simple. Ask yourself, do I have this value? No. If I do not have it, then how do I get it? Most of the time, you would need to write a query if you have an aggregate function. Okay, if you have an aggregate function, you almost always, not almost, you always need a query. Do you always need the group by? No, but if the value you're checking requires a group by statement, then you need a group by, like this one here. If the question was this, yeah, let's change the question so you know the difference. If the question was is of average salary of all employees, okay? If that was the question, the way we change this is this. We just take this one and we do not need a group by because I could just say greater than select average salary from instructor because I want it for all instructor. Okay, so just remember, when do you need to do group by? Group by is you want to create a group and then maybe do some calculations, okay? You want to do something for each unique value, okay? What is set? Okay, I'm gonna keep this very short. Some of the things I'm gonna write here will not work in MySQL. Let me do one thing. Let me save this as file, save script. Ouch, what did I do? Cancel. File, save as, revision. And we will delete everything from previous session. Okay, then you can keep this one. Okay. What did I want to do? Okay, what is union? What is, okay. So I'm gonna come here. So we have sets, and what we have is union. We have intersect, and we have, okay. In the lecture note, it says except, okay? But in MySQL, it's minus. I will show it to you only to tell you what except is doing. But if you see it in the query that Dr. Farhad is giving to you, do not pick minus because he's using except, okay? This is one of the reasons I don't want to record, because things that are mentioned may not work in here, but that doesn't mean it's incorrect because it's a standard language. Okay. It's SQL is a standard query language, so you should know it. You must know it because you might see it in Postgre, you might see it in Oracle, okay? So we have union, intersect, and except. What do they do? If I say, what is this? Who knows what is this? This is not us. Madre mia, come on. Okay, everything from here should go away. Now we're good. Union, intersect, and accept. Okay. So if I say A union B, and A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B is 1, 2, 7, and 8. Okay? Let's just get the idea of what we're talking about before we do anything. Let's do algebra. If I say A union B, what do you get? What's the output? All of it, no? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, if you do a plain union, I have a feeling it will repeat it. So 1, 2, 7, and 8. Okay? So it will repeat it when you do a basic union. There is another union, which I don't remember. What was it called? Okay, I can remember. You do something for this not to be repeated, but I don't remember. But let's just keep it simple now, okay? Let's not worry about details. And then when I say A intersect B, means everything, which means this means common values, which means 1, 2, and that's it. Okay? When I say except, means, sorry, A except B, values in A, but not in B. So that would give me what? Would give me 1 is in B, so I will, so it's like a minus, no? Do is here, so I don't take it, so it will be 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? B except A is values in B, but not in A, which give me 7 and 8. Okay. Now for the example, check the lecture, but this is basically what union, intersect, and except means. And it doesn't matter, it's the same thing. Instead of having numbers, you would have values from a column. Okay, I will give you one. Select I dot I email, comma SUID from let me see if I copy from here because I don't want to repeat myself. You will see, I'm trying to come up with a scenario that makes sense. So we're gonna do left join here because now I want to see all the instructors who are teaching or not teaching. It doesn't matter. If it's teaching, I want to see the subject ID. If it's not teaching, then I want to, so this is the query, okay? Show all instructors and instructors without a course, a subject, and subjects without instructors, okay? So we'll do it one by one first. So if I want to get all the instructors, this is all the instructors, and if I say where SUID is null, will give me everyone who doesn't have a subject, okay? Actually, let's leave it for now, okay? All the subjects. Show all instructors and all subjects and all the subject codes. Okay, so let's keep it simple. So to do this, we will do this one, and then this one will give me all the instructors, right? But this subject ID here does not cover everything from the subject table. So now let's write a query that gives me all the subjects. So then I would say select email, SUID from subjects. This is SU dot, where S dot SUID equal SU dot SUID. This will give me all the subjects, whether they are having a schedule or not, okay? Actually, we are doing full outer join. You remember I told you you can do it? So we have this, right? We have this. Now, if I want to see all the emails and all the subjects, regardless of whether they are being offered or not, all I need to do is remove this from here and put here union. Okay, so now if I put this, actually, let's do one thing. Let's just copy that. Oh, I could not do this, so forget it. All right, if I do this now, you see what happens. Let me change this. I get all the subjects with the instructors. If the employee doesn't have, instructor doesn't have a subject, I see it. If the subject doesn't have an instructor, I see it. So now I could say, if I want to do this, so this is the union, okay? And then I could say, I will do the same thing with intersect. What was it? Maybe the intersect. I do remember intersect was here. I remember minus works. So let's, okay, nothing wants to work now. That is weird. Okay, then yeah, my hands are tied here because I cannot show you, but just keep in mind that intersect does this and then accept does the minus, okay? But you know what the union is doing, so that's good, okay? So intersect basically takes everything that is here and in here. So this is like your work condition, right? Minus means give me everything that is here, but not in here, okay? So we'll show you this. I think we're done, unless you guys have a very specific, okay. Update and delete, I don't think I need to explain them because I think you can go with the recordings on the YouTube, okay? So I'm gonna stop this and stop the recording. That's 2 hours. Stop.